Hello everyone, and today we are back for another Loomian Legacy video, and today we have finally returned to the Loomian Legacy Top 5 series. And not only is this a Top 5, Top 10, I'm going to be talking about the Top 20 PVP Loomians in the year 2025. This video is 6 weeks overdue, but there are a lot of great Loomians in the year 2025. The reason why I want to make this video is because Season 2 is about to end, and we've had this metagame going on for over 2 months, so I know who are the best Loomians in this metagame. So, let's head straight into the video. Number 20 on this list is going to be Umbrat, and a lot of people might be shocked that an early game rat makes it onto this list, but Umbrat has a lot of good stuff to it. It has an HP stat of 75, energy stat of 84, 106 melee attack and 71 speed, and it also has the Overshadow ability, which buffs its typeless type moves and changes them into a dark type. This is really good when it has moves like Raging Tackle and Quick Pounce, which makes Umbrat really good. Not to mention it has other moves like Bulk Up, Fade Away for Pivot. It also has Chili Chomp to hit those pesky bug types, which makes Umbrat very dangerous. But the big move for Umbrat is Chase Down. Chase Down is a move that makes it so if a Loomian tries to switch out on the opposing side, it doubles in damage. And since the Chase Down is buffed to a dark type, this could actually trap a lot of critical Loomians like Soulburst Gastroke, Tatub, and even Eleguana. Eleguana is the big target because Eleguana usually switches into Zoolong teams, and then the Zoolong would Ancient Roar out into Umbrat, and then the Umbrat traps it with Chase Down, usually picking up the one-hit KO. It's a really good Loomian, and with that niche is the main reason why Umbrat is on the list. Without the Chase Down niche and Chase Down getting nerfed, I don't think Umbrat is going to rank this high, but right now, with Chase Down still working and it trapping one of the best Loomians in the game, yeah, it definitely deserves the number 20 spot on this list. Number 19 on this list is going to be Dokamore. Dokamore has an HP stat of 88, energy stat of 101, melee attack stat of 101, and it has great defenses on both sides, with 96 melee defense, 70 range defense, and a slow speed stat of 59 speed. This Loomian is an Earth and Toxic type, which is actually a very good defensive typing. This makes it so it's immune to electric and has a quad resistance to toxic type moves, which is awesome. But the thing that makes Dokamore a really good Loomian is its abilities. It has 2 amazing abilities. In Spine Break, which if hit by a melee type attack, makes it so it spreads toxic spines on the other side of the field, which is amazing for Poison Barb teams like Borealis. And it has the Sponge as its secret ability, making it lose its water weakness, and anytime it's hit by a water type attack, it actually heals HP back. This makes Dokamore one of the best Loomians at dealing with rain teams. Not to mention that this is probably one of the best counters for Duda in the entire game, as no other Loomian in the game I don't think can counter Duda. The other moves it has Icicle Traps, Baffle for Pivot, Quicksand to trap Loomians in, Aqua Jaw to lower melee defense, and it has Earth Toxic Stab, which can hit a lot of the different Loomians. Dokamore is very underrated, and I'm shocked that a lot of people don't use it more. I see it used a lot, and every time I see it, it always seems to put in some work, either placing Icicle Traps and baffling out, or walling a lot of the top hard-hitting melee attackers. That's why Dokamore has made number 19 onto this list. Number 18 onto this list is the Dark Air type in Nimus. Now, Nimus has some really good base stats. 76 into the HP, has 115 in the energy, 119 ranged attack, 122 range defense, and 100 speed. Its base stats are pretty much the same as Nimure's, but unlike Nimure, Nimus has an amazing offensive typing of Dark and Air, as this can pretty much hit any Loomian in the game, and if you hit them with a super effective attack, this thing hits pretty hard with its secret ability. Pitch Black makes it so the Dark type attacks are buffed even more, making Goggles Nimus in particular hit like an absolute truck. There's also the Impose ability, but the Impose ability isn't that good at the moment. The best ability is definitely its secret ability in Pitch Black. Other moves that it can run is Provoke, Peace of Mind, Dark Surge, Pepper Burst to hit other dark types and Dracodyne, Perch to heal HP, Tear Down to get rid of hazards, and Barter to trade items away. Not to mention, Nimus can run 2 different sets. It can run the Specialty Goggles set and hit really hard, or it can set up a setup set with Peace of Mind and Perch to heal its HP back, making it very dangerous to defeat. Nimus is still a very dangerous Loomian, even after the Pitch Dark nerf, and this thing hits really hard. It definitely deserves a spot at number 18 on the list. Number 17 on this list is going to be the simple Serlin. The simple, humble Serlin. With an HP stat of 92, 85 energy, 110 melee attack, 85 melee defense, and 89 speed. If you look at the stats, this overall looks like an above average Loomian, so why is Serlin on the list? It's mainly because of a couple things. Its Vengeance ability, not to mention that its simple type stab moves and Raging Tackle and Adaptive Assault makes this Loomian hit like a truck! Vengeance combined with Priority makes Serlin an unstoppable wall breaker with an Achilles heel, as it can't hit spirit types. But there is another set. There's the Staunch Bulk Up and Scapegoat set that can actually 1v1 most spirit types besides Soulburst Crakalola. This set can even beat Loomians like Yarsnak, Harvestect, and Marafe, which is insane when you consider the fact that Marafe is actually a quad resistance to Serlin. The moves it has is Raging Tackle, Mega Chomp, Ill Will, Body Crash, Stampede, and Teardown. And while this Loomian doesn't have the most flexible move options, this Loomian hits like a truck. And it's one of the best hyper-offensive Loomians in the entire game. Any resist or quad resistance is not enough to stop Serlin. The best way to beat Serlin is chipping it down with Loomians that can soak the hits, and hope you can get it down just in time, because there's really nothing in the game that can stop Serlin. The best counter is Soulburst Crakalola, and even then, Soulburst Crakalola has to go into its Soul Burst before it actually resists its simple type attacks, which makes Serlin extremely dangerous. A really well-deserved number 17 placement. Number 16 on this list is Rensidor. Rensidor is a toxic ancient type with an HP stat of 93, energy stat of 80, ranged attack stat of 99, ranged defense stat of 92, and a speed stat of 113. If you look at its range attack at first glance, 99 doesn't seem like a lot, but it has a very powerful ability in Do or Die, which puts all of your attacks to deal 30% more damage, but this comes at a cost of taking 10% of your max HP. This ability makes Rensidor hit like a truck. If you combine this with like a shell or like a specialty goggles to hit even harder, this Loomian hits like a freaking truck. Not to mention that Toxic Ancient is a very good offensive typing. The moves it can run is Draco Beam, Spectral Burst, Poison, Energy Break, Far and Near Enchantments, Muck Blast, Fade Away, Augment, Goop Spout, and Shrewd Blast. The only Loomians that can really beat this is Tyrex and Stratosaur with Toxic Filter, and even then you could poison them with Goop Spout, which makes Rensidor very hard to beat. The only Loomians that can truly beat Rensidor are Loomians that have very high range bulk. This Loomian hits very hard, it even has pretty good bulk on the range defense side, and its defensive typing is very good as well. Just a great all-around overall Loomian. Well-deserved of the number 16 spot. Number 15 onto this list is going to be the humble Luminami. Luminami has always been one of the best Loomians in the entire game. Has an HP stat of 105, energy stat of 88, melee attack of 94, ranged attack of 98, melee defense of 95, ranged defense of 85, and a speed stat of 60. All of the stats across the board are all very good. Not to mention that this is a water/light type that has the powerful duo of Flash and Flee Pivot and Power Napper as its ability. Power Napper makes it so Luminami can heal HP back when it switches out, meaning that you will always get free HP back. When you combine this with a restrictive item, it makes Luminami almost very hard to kill. The other moves it has are Tsunami, Wave Wrecker, Mega Chomp, Frost Beam, Nova Blast Rejuvenate, Thunder Chomp, Peace of Mind, Maroon, Blind Spot Batter, Plunge, and Radiant Rush. Luminami can be ran both melee, ranged, and mixed. Not to mention that it has a lot of different sets it can run. It even has the Awakening set, but that set isn't as good as the Power Napper set, as the Power Napper set is what makes Luminami OP. It's one of the best slow pivots in the entire game, and with a restrictive item, it makes it really hard to take out. It's a well-deserved number 15 spot on this list, but there is a certain other bulky water pivot that is a little higher than Luminami. We'll get to that Loomian really soon, but still, Luminami is still very, very good. Number 14 onto this list is going to be Pyrolin, one of the best Varis in the entire game. It has an HP stat of 119, energy stat of 91, ranged attack stat of 133, ranged defense stat of 79, and a speed stat of 66. Pyrolin is a pure fire type that is amazing, both offensively and defensively, but it's well known for being one of the most reliable range tanks in the entire game, mainly because of its ability Fanning Flame. When struck by an air-type attack, you take reduced damage and received a ranged attack boost. This ability can be used both offensively and defensively, making Pyrolin hit very hard after a +1, potentially even activating Rageful Plushie. Not to mention that defensively, it makes it so it's actually neutral to air types, meaning that Pyrolin only has 2 weaknesses, that being to Earth and Water. Other moves it can run is Flare Blast, Rejuvenate, Mud Spatter, Shrewd Blast, Peace of Mind, Boom Bash, Tear Down, Mudslide, and Fire Breath. There's also the Volcanic Pyrolin set, which is one of the hardest ranged attackers in the entire game, but that is 100% a tech set because it does make Pyrolin a sitting duck for a turn. Usually recommended on Heatwave teams so you can actually destroy water types, so that's kind of insane. That's what makes Pyrolin insane. It's one of the most reliable range tanks in the game, and it also has other sets it can use, and it can change its moveset as well. It can run Mud Spatter to deal with speed control, Mudslide to get rid of hazards, and it can even run Boom Bash or Shrewd Blast as extra coverage options. Pyrolin is awesome, probably one of the most underrated Loomians in the game, and it's a well-deserved number 14 on this list. Number 13 on this list is the Dumpster Fire himself in Zoolong. Cotton Stoops may call this Loomian a dumpster fire, but this Loomian is probably one of the most iconic Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. It has an HP stat of 78, energy stat of 88, melee attack of 92, ranged attack of 109, and 119 speed. The 119 speed being the most notable because it makes Zoolong one of the fastest Loomians in the game. This electric and ancient type is really threatening because of its high power and high speed. It has double pivot in Zip Zap and Ancient Roar, which makes Zoolong very hard to beat, and its damage is even boosted by its 2 abilities, Awakening and Brute Force. The moves that Zoolong can run is Zip Zap, Ancient Roar, Fire Breath, Chili Chomp, Elemental Burst, Thunder Strike, Tase, Jolt, Blaze Chomp, Shrewd Blast, and Storm Summon. And the thing is, Zoolong can change its sets. It can run Clutch Plushie to live other Zoolongs. It can use the Specialty Goggles or Specialty Gloves to hit very hard. It can run moves like Chili Chomp to hit Loomians like Gargolem the Fence and Plasmoth. And it can run Fire Breath to hit Loomians like Tyrex and Lent, the 2 most common Loomians in this metagame. Ancient Roar is mainly there to pivot out of bad matchups. Like, for example, if you go into like a Duda, you can pivot out and then hopefully switch into something in a lot easier. But it's mainly used for its biggest counter, Eleguana. Eleguana is the best Zoolong counter in the game, as Zoolong can never deal with Eleguana. So being able to Ancient Roar out of the Eleguana matchup is definitely a huge win for Zoolong. Zoolong is a very good Loomian. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it, but it doesn't hit as hard enough. It has high range attack and a damage boosting ability, but there are some range tanks that can shrug off a couple of the Zoolong hits. But despite that, it's still a well-deserved number 13 on this list. Number 12 onto this list is the Turtle, Serkame. It has an HP stat of 91, energy stat of 80, 120 melee defense, 116 ranged attack, 77 ranged defense, and a very low speed stat of 34. But the low speed stat is actually very good for a Loomian like Serkame. It's because it's a pure water type which has Seasong, which is only blocked by a few Loomians. Dokamore Sponge, Gandervel's Hydrate, and also I believe there's Parasol as well, but all of them lose to Frost Beam or Body Crash. Only Parasol can really soak Serkame. But it also has a very high melee defense stat and a really good ability in quick recovery. When leaving battle, this Loomian instantly recovers from its status elements, which is amazing for a Loomian like Serkame, because this is a melee tank that wants to soak the statuses, and switch out with Seasong. The other moves it can run is Rejuvenate, Frost Beam, Body Crash, Peace of Mind, Resonate, Rant, Battle Horn, Tsunami, and Brace to boost Body Crash's damage. Serkame is definitely a very good Loomian, and a lot of people might expect this to be in the top 10 of the list. But the reason why it is out of the top 10 is because a lot of people don't use this right. It is a melee defense Loomian, but a lot of people use it like Luminami, and when this Loomian gets very low on HP, Serkame is often a dead weight. So you need to keep Serkame's HP high, but it's very hard on a Loomian that only has an energy stat of 80. Despite that, though, has Frost Beam to hit Lent, Seasong to hit Tyrex, and it's just very good into the overall meta. Not to mention that it can be ran bulky on both sides, making Serkame very reliable. That's why it's making the number 12 spot on this list. Number 11 on this list is the powerful Glacadia. Glacadia is an Ice Ancient type that has an HP stat of 96, energy stat of 115, ranged attack of 119, ranged defense of 102, and a speed stat of 111. This Ice Ancient type has an ability called Chilly Passion, which boosts its Ice type attacks by even more. But this Loomian actually was really good in the past when it had Deep Freeze. It was probably a top 5 Loomian. But when it lost Deep Freeze, it definitely hurt Glacadia a lot. Until it got Bitter Cold. With this Loomian having a very high range defense stat, Bitter Colding a switch-in like a bulky water or metal type stuns those Loomians for the rest of the game, making them not be able to hit you as hard. That's amazing for Glacadia, as there's really no true counters for the powerful Glacadia. The moves that it can run is Frost Blast, Draco Beam, Energy Break, Bitter Cold, Frost Beam, Peace of Mind, Raging Howl, Disperse, Icicle Trap, Slumber, Bar Enchantment, Frost Breath for doubles, and Rainbow Blast if you have the Rainbow variant. Glacadia is very good. It does have a very bad defensive typing, so you do gotta be a little bit careful there, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Glacadia has a bad defensive typing, when it's mainly used offensively anyway. And you can hit pretty much any Lumian in the game besides bulky waters and bulky metals, which those get damaged by Bitter Cold, giving Glacadia a very, very good place into this metagame. Not to mention that it hits Tyrex and Lent very hard in this meta as well. And that's what makes Glacadia the number 11 spot onto this list. The number 10 spot onto this list is Eleguana. Eleguana has very recently gotten a new remodel, and honestly, it might be one of the biggest glow-ups ever for a Loomian. But the design of the Loomian isn't what matters in PvP. It's the stats and what it can do in battle. It has an HP stat of 80, an energy stat of 80, melee defense of 85, range defense of 115, and a speed stat of 80. This electric light type is one of the best counters for Zoolong. And if you don't have an Eleguana on your team, most of the teams are usually weak to Zoolong, so it's always good to go for the Eleguana option. Not to mention, since it has 2 great abilities in Lightning Rod and the Prismatic, means that Eleguana can block 2 of the 3 common pivot moves, Zip Zap, Flash and Flee, and Fade Away. And you can pick which ability you want depending on the team matchup. Speaking of Flash and Flee and Zip Zap, Eleguana gets 2 of those moves, meaning that this is a slow pivot that actually hits decently hard with Lightning Rod. The other moves it has is Rejuvenate, Landslide, Mudslide, Energize, Thunderstrike, Thunderblast, Gamma Pulse, Jolt, Magnify, Tase, and Luster Loot. So yeah, Eleguana has slow pivot, hits pretty hard, has Rejuvenate, Mudslide to get rid of hazards, and Landslide to hit pretty hard. The biggest flaw with Eleguana, and the reason why it isn't higher on the list, is because it doesn't hit the hardest. It hits hard, but it doesn't hit the hardest. And it's also walled by Lent and walled by Beneki and Silver Scatchstroke. So you do gotta be careful against some of those powerful Loomians. Despite that though, this is also one of the best range tanks for powerful ranged attackers like Zoolong, Lantorch, and Ikazune, giving Eleguana a well-deserved spot in the top 10. Number 9 onto this list is going to be Crakalola, and this counts both the base and Soulburst Crakalola form. Base Crakalola has an HP stat of 95, energy stat of 125, melee defense of 95, ranged attack of 91, range defense of 99, and a speed stat of 22, while having 2 great abilities in Combustible and Scorching Skin, meaning if a melee attacker attacks a normal Crakalola, it has a very low chance of getting burned, stunning that melee attacker for the rest of the fight. If it was just that, it would make Crakalola a pretty reliable tank, but we have not talked about the Soulburst form. In its Soulburst form, it has an HP stat of 115, energy stat of 125, melee defense of 105, ranged attack of 126, ranged defense of 109, and a speed stat of 12. It can summon the heat, making water-type attacks do less damage, and making its fire-type attacks a lot stronger, making Soulburst Crakalola actually hit really hard for a defensive Loomian. The moves it can run are Flare Blast, Dark Surge, Raging Flame to stun melee attackers, Spectral Burst, Rejuvenate to heal, Mud Spatter to lower speed, Mudslide to get rid of hazards, and it can even run the Ha-Ha Funny Scapegoat set. Soulburst Crakalola is probably one of the most reliable tanks in the entire game, and it's also one of the best counters for Serlin, which is amazing. This is probably the best Serlin counter in the entire game, but even then, you still gotta be in its Soulburst form. Crakalola also supports its Soulburst form really well, as the base fire type helps a lot, and the base fire spirit type works pretty well as well, as they actually build off each other very well. Sometimes it's better being in the base Crakalola, sometimes it's better the Soulburst. Making the Crakalolas have very good synergy with each other. That's what makes Crakalola really good. Both its base and its Soul Burst form. And that's why it belongs at the number 9 spot. Number 8 onto this list is going to be Plasmoth, the electric bug type that is probably the most reliable range tank in the entire game, and it can also beat dark types like Umbrat and Lent. That's the reason why Plasmoth is higher than Eleguana, even though Eleguana can be more reliable. It's because Plasmoth beats the powerful Umbrat and Lent. Has the Thunder Summon as its ability, and its base stats are awesome. HP stat of 86, energy stat of 93, melee defense of 67, range defense of 109, and the speed stat of 112. This is a tanky Loomian that has a very high speed stat, meaning that it can actually provoke a lot of the incoming fast melee attackers, which is awesome for Plasmoth. You can stop setup moves, you can trap Loomians in with Pestilence, and you can even tear down and remove hazards. The other moves it can have is Feral Blast, Pestilence, Zip Zap, Dissipate, Rejuvenate, Provoke, Tear Down, Energy Break, Square 1, and Redemptive Strike for doubles. Plasmoth also has 2 really good abilities. Thunder Summon summons the Thunderstorms, which in my opinion is the best weather in the entire game, because it can be combined with Loomians like Overcloak Sherbot, be Hammer Off with Gloves and Earthquake, and Overcloak Tyrex, which we'll get to Tyrex a little bit later. And then there's the Charge Arc ability, which can completely stun a ranged attacker for the rest of the game, reducing their speed stat and making the rest of your team outspeed that paralyzed Loomian later in the match. And that's what makes Plasmoth very good. It's very flexible, and while it's not as bulky as Eleguana, it beats the powerful Umbrat and Lent, and that's what makes Plasmoth a ton spots higher than Eleguana, as it deserves a top 10 spot onto this list. Number 7 on this list is going to be the powerful Chironics, the Spirit and Light type. Quite possibly the best defensive typing in the entire game. 1 weakness to Steel, 4 resistances, and a whopping 2 immunities, both to Brawler and to Spirit. This is a Spirit type immune to Spirit. That's amazing. Not to mention that Chironics has very good base stats, an HP stat of 56, which is low, but the rest of its stats make it up. Energy stat of 101, melee defense of 96, range attack of 122, range defense of 106, and a speed stat of 51. The Fog Summon is also a very good weather, and the Reaper ability can keep Chironics alive every time it picks up a KO. Keep in mind, Chironics has a high 122 ranged attack and setup moves like Magnify and Peace of Mind. Not to mention that it has moves like Luster Loot to keep itself healthy. Keep in mind, Chironics has only 1 weakness, and its stats on both sides are both very good. Other moves it can run are Nova Blast, Flash and Flee for Pivot, Frost Beam, Peace of Mind, Rant for Luminami, Luster Loot to heal like I said, Apparition while in the fog is a 1-turn move, Magnify for double setup, Tear Down to get rid of hazards, and Tricky Tactics to destroy hard-hitting melee attackers. Chironics might not be as good as what it was in its last couple lists, like in 2024 it was the number 1 Loomian, but even now, it's still relatively broken because of its insanely amazing defensive typing and its Reaper ability keeping it alive. And after a Peace of Mind, there's not really any Loomians that can destroy Chironics on the range side anymore, making it one of the most reliable Loomians in the entire game, both offensively and defensively. A well-deserved spot for my GOAT, Chironics. The number 6 spot onto this list is going to be Tatub. In my opinion, Tatub is probably the best starter in the entire game, and it reaches a very high spot at number 6. And you can tell by the base stats, it probably has the best base stats out of all the starters. 75 in the HP, 88 in the energy, 126 melee attack, 92 ranged attack, and 104 speed. This is a Loomian with 104 speed, 126 melee attack, with its attack stat getting boosted by Awakening. Keep in mind that it also has a stab move in Temper Thrash, which does 120 damage. So yeah, this Loomian hits very, very hard. It can destroy pretty much any Loomian in the entire game besides toxic types. And even then, there are Loomians like Air Snack and Crakalola as well, but you can poison them with poison, and you can hit toxic types with both Mud Spatter and Splitting Headache. So not really any Loomian is safe from an Awakening boosted Tatub. The moves it can run, like I said, are Temper Thrash, Jungle Jetsu, Splitting Headache, Poison. It can even run Provoke and Mudslide, which gives it a lot of utility as well. Bulk Up and Barter, which is very good to barter specialty items away and stun tanks. Mud Spatter to lower speed, Boom Bash, Ill Will, Toxic Tail, Life Drain to heal HP, and Wonder Herb to help support the team. The thing that's really good about Tatub is that it's a Loomian that has pretty much 3 moves already, but its 4th move slot can be relatively open, making Tatub very unpredictable. You can run Toxic Tail for Malmerk, you can run Mudslide for Hazards, you can run Wonder Herb to help heal status for the rest of the team, you could run Splitting Headache to hit toxic types, you could run Provoke to stop setup sweeping, and you could run other moves like Barter or Bulk Up to set up even more. Tatub is so flexible, and it's one of the most reliable late-game cleaners in the entire game, and that's why it deserves the number 6 spot. But it does barely fall short to the top 5. Let's head straight to them right now. Number 5 onto this list is going to be the powerful Duda. Both its base and Soul Burst form belong on this list. The base form has an HP stat of 99, energy of 119, 127 melee attack, 95 ranged attack, and 97 speed. And the normal Duda has a base type of water, making it really good. Not to mention that the base Duda also has the Brute Force ability, which boosts all of its melee type attacks. It also has covered moves like Venom Slash to hit Lashen and Tatub, and Slap Down to hit Loomians like Luminami. And it can also get rid of items as a bonus. But you don't have to run a full-out melee Duda, because there's also the Soul Burst variant. The Soul Burst form has an HP stat of 119, energy stat of 119, melee attack of 95, ranged attack stat of 157, which, by the way, is the second highest in the entire game, and a speed stat of 77. While it is slower, it hits a whole lot harder on the range side. And that's the thing that makes Duda scary. You don't know which form of Duda you're going to face. Both its base and Soul Burst form are very common, and even then, you can run mixed on both movesets. You can run ranged attacks on a base Duda, you can run melee attacks on a Soul Burst Duda, and it can be very, very dangerous. Not to mention that its electric typing it adds into its Soul Burst form makes it so it's neutral to electric type attacks, being a very good positive defensively for the Soul Burst Duda form. Other moves it can run are Torrential Slash, Thunder Strike, Venom Slash, Gamma Pulse, Energize, Provoke, Slap Down, Thunder Blast, Thunder Slam, Bulk Up, Tsunami, and Power Focus. Duda is really powerful, and its Soul Burst and base form complements each other very well, and it makes it very different unlike other one-trick pony Soul Bursts, like Soul Burst Eruptodon and Soul Burst Stratosaur, who we will talk about in the honorable mentions. But yeah, Duda, a well-deserved spot into the top 5, as nothing can really switch into Duda, making it very dangerous. Number 4 onto this list will be Ursnack. Ursnack is probably one of the bulkiest Loomians in the entire game. If you look at its base stats, it has amazing bulk on both sides. It has an HP stat of 99, energy stat of 89, melee attack of 95, melee defense of 113, range defense of 90, and a speed stat of 55. Spirit Brawler is not the best defensive typing, but it's good enough as it actually walls a decent amount of Loomians in the meta. But the thing that makes Ursnack so bulky is its tank ability, which makes it take half the damage of the first hit, which makes this Loomian pretty much soak any hit in the entire game. It can even soak quad weak hits, which is kind of crazy. And that doesn't even mention the fact that it has Baffle to lower the attack stat of the opposing Loomians, and since this is a slow Loomian, you can pivot out into your hard-hitting melee/range attackers, gaining the momentum. This Loomian also has other moves like Gain Drain to stop setup sweeping, Slap Down to get rid of items, Rough Up and Pep Jab for damage, and Shadow Sprint and Quick Punch for priority. Nothing else to say here. Ursnack is a very powerful Loomian, and if it actually had a little bit more offensive pressure, it would probably be in the top 3, because there are a couple flaws with Ursnack. Dragodyne is an utter wall to Ursnack, and if a Dragodyne swaps into a Ursnack, you could potentially lose the game on the spot. Not to mention that Ursnack does not hit that hard, so Scapegoat is a problem, and there are ways to stop Ursnack with hazards, as the tank ability gets disabled from any hazards being set. Despite that, though, you can usually build around that by adding a couple Loomians with hazard removal and just let Ursnack do its thing. Nothing else to say here. Ursnack is still the best slow, bulky pivot in the entire game. I don't think there'll ever be a Loomian that beats Ursnack. And even though it doesn't have any way to heal, it's just so bulky that it doesn't matter. Ursnack definitely deserves the number 4 spot on this list. The number 3 spot on this list is quite potentially the most busted Loomian in the entire game. And that is the funny squid guy himself, Sephilops. Look at the base stats. 164 HP, most HP in the entire game. 116 energy, 96 melee attack, 69 melee defense, nice. 129 ranged attack, 74 ranged defense, and 52 speed. The 52 speed really being the only weakness of Sephilops, and even then, it doesn't matter. Water Dark type is amazing offensively, and this destroys teams, especially when you combine the fact that Bloodsucker is an ability that makes the moves that leech life from the opposing player actually deal more damage. And guess what its signature move is? Soul Drain! It's a leeching move which steals life from the opposing player. And this is for a Lumion that already has a base ranged attack stat of 129. You run this with goggles and you just click Soul Drain and win every single time. This is probably one of the most busted Lumions in all of Season 3. And out of all the Lumions on this list, this is probably the Lumion that needs to be banned the most. Any other Lumion on this list definitely doesn't have that capability other than Sephilops. Other moves it can run are Tsunami, Frost Beam, Icicle Traps, Hypnotize, Wave Wrecker for Pyrolin, Brainwash for some strange reason, and Dark Surge to potentially cause flinches. Nothing else to say here. Sephilops is just far above any other Lumion in the entire game, but it does fall short of the top 2 spots. And the reason why is because you know what Sephilops is going to do. You know what sets it's going to run. You know it's going to run Soul Drain, you know it's going to run Tsunami, and you know it's going to run Frost Beam. It's the same Sephilops every single time. But these top 2 Lumions, while probably not as busted as Sephilops, can be ran with any playstyle. It is pretty much used on almost every single team in the ranked Season 2 meta. Let's head right to the top 2 spots right now. Number 2 onto this list is going to be Leshent, aka Lando Tree, aka La You Know What. So yeah, Leshent. This quite might be one of my most hated Lumions in the game, but I gotta respect on how good it actually is. Has an HP stat of 104, energy stat of 96, melee attack of 103, melee defense of 93, range defense of 679, and a speed stat of 64. This is a plant dark type, and while the type isn't amazing, it does actually give the plant and dark types a really good Lumion, because it's a dark type that's immune to light, and a plant type that's neutral to dark, which doesn't exist. This is the only Lumion in the game that has a dark type that is immune to light. Let's not talk about Waka Laka. Waka Laka isn't that common right now. Leshent also has some very powerful abilities in Gloomy to hit very hard while in Fog, but its main ability is Petrifying. You strike fear into your foes as you enter the battle, lowering their ranged attack, meaning that Leshent can live hits on both the melee and ranged side. Not to mention that it has one of the most complex move pools in the entire game. Has Sap Plant, Slapdown, Ice Hammer, Earthquake, Briar Block, Provoke, Icicle Traps, Brawn Boost, Rejuvenate, Timber Thrash, Gnarly Gash, and Tricky Tactics. And there's probably a lot of other moves that I'm also missing on this Lumion. This Lumion can pretty much do anything. It can be ran as a Brawn Boost attacking Lumion. It can be used as a defensive Sap Plant Briar Block Lumion. It can spam Rejuvenate and win. It can run tricky Tactics to destroy melee attackers. It can set up Icicle Traps and provoke the opposing Lumions. Not to mention the Ice Earth coverage is some of the best coverage in the entire game. And when you combine that with Plant Dark Stab, there's not really anything in the entire game that can switch into Leshent. And while it doesn't hit the hardest, it hits hard enough for a bulky Lumion that it can't necessarily just sit there on the field. It's always going to be a threat of 2-hit KOing any Lumion that it hits super effectively. And that's what makes Leshent number 2 on the list. It would be number 1 if it didn't have 2 quadra weaknesses, but hey, number 2 is still a very good spot for the Latree. Before we get to the number 1 spot, I want to talk about a couple honorable mentions. If this was a top 21 list, I would definitely add Dragodyne to the number 21 spot. It has a very good Soul Burst, very good ability, and it's very flexible. Probably a very good Dark Air type that has very good stats on both sides, including a massive 135 ranged attack, and against slower teams, its Soul Burst form can snowball out of control. The only reason why it's not on the list is because I think Nimus is slightly better at the moment, but Dragodyne could definitely be used, and if you swap this into a Yursnack, it pretty much wins the game on the spot. Other honorable mentions is Whippledrift with Tempest and Glide. Probably the most broken Lumion in the game, and probably the easiest one to use. You click Tempest and you win. The reason why it isn't on the list is because there are a lot of Lumions that do resist Tempest, but still, in the lower ladders, it's probably the easiest Lumion to win with. Other Lumions, like Garbantis, hits very hard because it uses its melee defense stat as its attack stat, meaning that not only does it hit very hard, but it's also very bulky as well, especially on the melee side. Barbadger, nothing else to say here. There's not really anything that can switch into a Barbadger besides Yursnack. So, yeah, Barbadger hits very, very hard. And then we're going to talk about the Soulburst. Soulburst Stratosaur is still very good as a late game cleaner. You have Soulburst Celesting, who's probably one of the best support Loomians in the entire game. Flash and Flee, Deja Vu, Mystic Tone being broken, and just a lot of other moves it can run. And there's, of course, the one-dimensional Soulburst Eruptodon, who could set up its Soulburst and then Magnify, and could pretty much OHKO any Loomian in the entire game after a Magnify, making Soulburst Eruptodon very dangerous. Despite all these Loomians being very good, they do fall just short onto making the top 20 list, and there's probably a lot of other Loomians that do barely miss the list as well. If your Loomian isn't on the list, don't worry, like the number 10 through 40 spot are very close to each other. The top 10 is very easy, but once you get lower on the list, you could definitely flip-flop a ton of these Loomians. There's a lot of Loomians in the game that has that top 20 potential, meaning that every other person's top 20 list is going to be a lot different to mine. So, yeah, unfortunately, these Loomians just barely missed the list, but let's head straight to the best PvP Loomian in the entire game. The number 1 Loomian, the best PvP Loomian in the year of 2025 is Tyrex. There's nothing else to really say about Tyrex. Tyrex has some amazing stats on both sides. It has an HP stat of 89, energy stat of 94, melee attack of 111, melee defense of 102, range defense of 83, and a speed stat of 74. It also has the Earth Metal type, which is both amazing offensively and defensively. It's a metal type that is immune to electric, and Metal Earth offensively hits Obsidian, Tundraland, and Venolin for super effective damage. Not to mention that it hits a lot of the top Loomians very hard. It hits Eleguana, it hits Luminami, it has even Thunder Chomp as a coverage move to hit Soulburst Stratosaur, and it even has Chomp to hit Waka Waka if you really want. And yeah, Tyrex has 3 amazing abilities. It has Overcloak to be very fast while under thunderstorms, has Terrifying to stun melee attackers, and it has Power Jaw to boost its biting attacks by 50% more damage. And keep in mind, this is for a Loomian that has already 111 melee attack, making Tyrex amazing both offensively and defensively. Other moves it can run are Earthquake, Vice Jaws, Thunder Chomp, Slumber, Quicksand, Tear Down, Steel Crusher Chomp, Body Slam, Complete Demo, Sharpen, and Metal Shriek. Tyrex is pretty much good on any team style. It can be ran on Hyper Offense, Bulky Offense, Balance, Semi-Stall, Stall. Any play style works with Tyrex, and that's what makes Tyrex the number 1 Loomian in the entire game. It does pretty much everything well. There's nothing that Tyrex can't do. Hits hard, soaks hits, and it's very good into the meta. And that's why it belongs in the number 1 slot on this list. And there it is, Tyrex, the best PvP Loomian in the year 2025. Good job. So yeah, that is my first top 20 list in over a year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If y'all want more of these top 5 videos, please tell me in the comments below, because I do enjoy making these. And if this video does very well, I'm going to plan to make at least 1 top 5 every week again. I'm happy. We are finally back into the top 5s, and hopefully I can make them a lot better than I used to, because a lot of my older top 5s has sucked. Hope you guys enjoyed this list, and I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!